first thing that you think you should do as far as building your own camera?
Set the cameras up first on a tripod.
That's fine. Okay, good. Go ahead, start there. I already showed you certain cameras go on certain tripods. So which camera is that?
EOS 5D Mark II.
That's the lightest camera. Which one is the smallest tripod? Exactly. So put that on there. So we'll do them one at a time, right? Okay. So one more time, red dot to red dot. Put it in there. Turn until it clicks and you're good to go. Okay? So, here. There you go. All right? Here, grab one. Take the cap off and see if you can make that happen. Just turn it. Just turn it. It'll come right off. And find that red dot. Find that red dot. Find that red dot. And be gentle. Here, hold on. With the red, there it is. You can do it. Just maneuver it a little bit and it'll go in. There. See that? There you go. And when it clicks, click, click, click. All right, now take it off. Right. All right. All right. Beautiful. And put it back on. One more time and then we'll do something else. Did you get that click? You got that click? Okay. All right, good. It's such a pleasure to work with the three of you. What year did you go in the military?
1969. As a policeman, you can imagine having to patrol the streets of Vietnam during the Vietnam War. So you had to look over your shoulders all the time, you know, and especially being a military police, you had a direct effect upon the economy because everything was more, has to do with finance and money. And if you were one of those individuals that would curtail their money, then you were somewhat of a target. So we had a bullseye on our chest all the time.
How did you curtail their money?
You curtail it because you interfered with their market in terms of how they were doing things on the black market. Theft, stealing government property, you name it. Yeah.
Any violent crimes?
Yes.
Lots of violent crimes?
Yes.
What city were you in Vietnam?
I was in Da Nang.
What was the poverty like there?
What was what?
The poverty.
Well, it's in Vietnam. I mean, you know, it was poor, to be honest with you. And if you want to talk about what's going on now, as it relates to society, because these young people are going to be the one that's going to be the leaders.
Right.
You know what I mean? So my point is this: put yourself in a position. Don't worry about things you don't have any control. You don't have any control over. Don't worry about it. And the other thing is this: it's very simple. If you put yourself in a position to be successful, the only reason and the only way you're going to get out of it, regardless of all the politics and everything else, the way you want to get even, if you really want to get even, you get even by being successful. You being successful. And I was always taught, because it's old school, what you have up here, no one can ever take it away. And I say this with a lot of authority. I'm just going to go, even though it's not one of your questions. Every job, when I went to the school system, one of the things that they said that I needed an engineering degree, to be the director of security or the police chief. That was a criteria I needed. And I didn't have an engineering degree.
Right.
And the truth be told, I didn't have a degree
at
that particular time. But my work ethics superseded that because I had very good work in it.
Right, and the experience.
And that helped me. But what I did do, I went back after I got my degree. After I retired. And I did it for one reason.
Right.
I did it because I wanted to teach young people that regardless of how old you are, or how impoverished you might be, you still have a chance and you can still make it. So my point is, if this old man can make it, you know, and I can sit up in the classroom doing work.
My basic training was learning how to refuel those planes in the air.
Oh, okay. So,
Yeah,
what was your job?
My job was to operate that boom. When
Gotcha, okay, in
when the
midair,
airplane
midair.
come up there, I'd operate that boom and connect the two planes together and give him gas.
Wow.
When I was 17 years old, I decided, I was a senior in high school, I wanted to enlist. I always wanted to be a soldier. I taught to all the branches of service. I actually went to an aviation high school. So,
Where was that?
Queens, New York. Right, yeah. So people would think that would be my first choice, but it wasn't. The Army kind of offered me what I was looking for, which was I wanted to work in communications. And that's what I did, my first enlistment. Yeah, thank you so much. And I want to thank you guys. You guys have been great.
Yes,
All
sir.
right, thank you.
You fellas have, boys and girls, any questions that you wanted to ask?
Well, this ain't a question, but I like the tattoo that you got with the gun right there with the helmet on top.
All right, so let me explain what that is. So I only have one tattoo in my body, and it's this one. And this is symbolic of whenever you see a rifle with a helmet and boots, this is a fallen soldier. So when that soldier passed away, we all went and got tattoos just as a reminder of the ultimate sacrifice, meaning, you know, that person didn't make it. So that's what that means. The boots with the helmet and all that is the ultimate sacrifice. And you'll see some soldiers that deploy, you know, rocking the same tattoo, right? So that's what that means.
My family actually put, cause I got my auntie, she went
Right.
to the reserve, so they actually pushed me to go to the Army.
Yeah, you should do that. I'm telling you, it's a great thing. You're a healthy guy, look like you're in shape.
Yes, sir.
Good
Open
job.
up a lot of doors for you.
Cape May, New Jersey is basic training, and I went there for boot camp, and it was in the middle of the summer. It was hot as hell, and I was in Papa Company, and I had a great group. We did really well through boot camp. We were all pretty good together, no conflicts. Everyone worked together to get through camp, and it was successful. It was 8 weeks. Well, we were always up at 6 a.m., which means we got up at 5 or 5:30. We had to make sure that we were all showered. We had everything done. We had all the bunks had to be done. Everything had to be neat. And then we had formation. Then we marched to breakfast. And then we came back and we had physical training. And then, depending on what happened, what was on the agenda, probably the first 2 or 3 weeks, we didn't do anything but march and exercise. And then finally, they started teaching us a little bit more about small ships, more about hand-to-hand, more small arms. Back then, the Coast Guard really was not as powerful and as strong as it is today. It was a completely different service. It was all small boats, a couple of large cutters that maybe were 258, 300 long, nothing. Now the Coast Guard is instrumental in supporting the Navy and is very active in drug enforcement and in patrolling the international waters. You guys are the super, the best. Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you. And you let me pick on you all the way back there.
We went to some different parts of Korea, like Daegu and Busan and Jeju Island. We didn't stay on the peninsula. We just did different things around that area. I didn't go to Japan. Well, I did go to Japan. I actually did go to Japan. I did a semi-deployment at the CASA in Ramstein. I saw casualties there.
In Germany?
Yes,
How long were you there?
I was there for 4 months.
And what year was that?
2007.
Okay.
Yes, that was basically like the same thing. We had to keep track of when the casualties were coming from Iraq, Afghanistan. They'd come through the staging facility. We had to keep track of what type of casualties were there. Were they burn victims? Were they ambulatory victims? Meaning if they had an injury, could they walk? Like, are they CCAT?
What is CCAT?
CCAT means they're pretty much attached to, they're heart patients.
Oh.
They're heart patients, so they're laid out in a stretcher. It's like an ambulatory stretcher. They're unconscious. They can't breathe on their own, and so you'll have a team. You'll have a whole heart team.
Right.
You'll have the technicians and the doctors. They're tending to these patients while in flight to Germany, and then they'll be in flight to the next location. So we had to keep in touch, and we had to keep a track of who these patients were.
So how did you handle overall pressure and stress?
How do I handle that? I talk to a therapist. I talk to a therapist because it's just a struggle trying to get your stability back. If you don't have your stability in check, you're going to be depressed about a lot of things because it's going to affect a lot of things. So I talk to a therapist every month to just help me regulate emotions. I've learned how to organize a lot of my life, or just, be like structured.
Right.
It gave me that structure I really, really needed. I didn't even know I needed.
What branch of the service were you in?
United States Air Force. Basic training was in Lackland Air Force Base in Texas
And what year was that, by the way?
in 1982.
Okay, right, exactly.
Yeah.
And how long was basic?
It was about 6 weeks, I believe. Six to 8 weeks, something like that.
And how did you get through it?
Oh, great. I was immediately picked up by the TI to be the guide-on. So the guide-on is kind of the guy that leads the troop, is the one that carries the troop flag, and pretty much everybody follows. So if you make a mistake, you're the first one to get yelled at. So
I haven't forgotten.
incidents where military service members were killed outside of the base. There were a terrorist unit that had moved into the Philippines. I think they were called the MPA, National. There's a political movement that they had, and
Filipinos.
They were Filipinos, yep. And a couple of service members were killed around the base, and you know, caused a lot of restrictions from going off base for about I would say about 2 months until the you know, the members were apprehended.
Tell us about basic training. What was it like?
It was rigorous, you know. Back in that time, it's not like the new service. I was in the old service. We still had the Jeeps and stuff like that. I had it was exciting. It was, I enjoyed it a whole lot. We had a lot of, my drill sergeants, they were special forces.
Oh, wow.
So, you know, out of all the platoons, we pulled the drill sergeants that was special forces, so you could tell that we had to do a lot of work. And, you know, they stayed on us, but it helped out a whole lot once I got to my permanent duty. I would say, you know, probably wounded, a couple of gunshots.
Oh, really?
You know, stuff like that, yeah. We had small incidents that we would come in conflict with the North Koreans. They would bring the tanks to the lines. You know, being up in the DMZ, you experience a lot of small incidents.
Right.
You know, and like I said, we had a lot of invasions. They were coming through. They were building tunnels, and a lot of times the K9s, the MPs and the K9s.
Right.
Yeah, they kept them on wild alert. So a lot of times that was used to.
So there was a certain amount of engagement. Anyway, there was some combat.
A lot of engagement.
Uh-huh.
A lot of engagement.
United States Army.
Okay, and what year did you join the Army?
1975 in the Women's Army Corps. My father was in the Army, and all the rest of my ancestors were in the United States Army, so I represented the Army and my family. My father, actually, because he was in the Buffalo Soldiers himself.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Nice. Was he in what engagement was he in?
World War II.
you were training with Marines.
Yes,
For 3.5 months.
yes.
And
I had to go through pretty much almost what they go through in boot camp.
tell us about it.
Yeah, that was more intense training. That was battle scenario training. Pretty much where you crawl the sandbags, you shoot the M16 rifle, you pretty much everything you can think of for wartime scenario. Like a lot of civilians you meet, and it's like almost like meeting a brother and sister you never knew.
Right.
And you become like a family. You
Oh.
become closely attached. And it's like they try to teach you everything that, what they went through. And I learned a lot of things like about how our mindset works versus theirs. A lot of things we weren't told.
Right.
As children growing up in our schools. And some of those things, they when you fall back on them, you're like, hold on, wait a minute. I was never told that in our history books.
Okay.
Where a lot of people were shipped here, there, and all over the place, and how some of these people's, like the battles and conflicts they go through are conflicts similar to ours. Right? And how we came where we're at now.
Okay,
And
you're
so
talking about the racial issues?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they had those experiences?
Yes.
Wow. I would really like to, can you expound on that?
It's sort of like some of the debates we used to have where I'd be like, like we'd have these subtle little arguments where they'd be like, I'm like, they're African just like me. And I'm like, no, you're not African the same as me. You're from Afghanistan. You're from that part of, let's say, Africa and all those different distant countries. Your relations didn't come from the same place that mine came from. And they'd be like, no, they never told you we come from the same place. Like, they shifted us from there to here is how we ended up here.
From Africa.
Doing what we're doing. And they shifted you from there to over there, and they never told you that where all they shipped us and separated us from each other, kind of thing. And I used to think in my mind, I'd be like, whoa, like a lot of this stuff would wake me up. The same as with some of these other countries that, like the Spanish-speaking countries. Same thing. Like when I would travel and go to those places, it'd be like a lot of the same thing. Like I was on a plane with a girl coming back, and she was like telling me pretty much the same thing. Like I'm African just like you. I said, no, you're Spanish. You're from South America. Like they're Spanish. You come from Spanish descent. She's like, no, my people come from Africa, same as yours. So the same thing, which gets kind of confusing to me at times in my mind. I'm thinking, whoa, that's interesting.
Right.
Yeah. So a lot of that. And we connected like that. A lot of the conversations led to bigger and bigger conversations about things. So you start to learn a lot more about the world than you actually knew growing up here.
Right.
And were never taught.
So what was the defining issue to go into the Navy versus the Army?
Awesome. So at church, my granddad pastored, he retired now, he pastored church, Mount Zion Missionary Baptist Church, and it was his deacon that always came to all the functions, and he had a nice car, and they say he retired from the Navy. And I said, I want to be just like him. My granddad told me, I could talk to him. I talked to him. He was telling me about his experience of traveling the world and seeing different things and, just having fun. I was like, that's what I want to do.
Thank you.